Hey guys, insert number 4 here. Now this account at the end of Matthew that we're going to cover, I could not find anything. So if you know, please tell me in the comments. Tell all of us in the comments. I could not find anything to indicate when this event happened. It would seem to make sense either way. I'd say definitely after the road to Emmaus, definitely after Christ appearing to Thomas after that week. So this is a while after. But whether it happens before the fishing boat incident or after, I don't know. It could be either, and either would make sense. So we're not going to worry too much about the timeline. We are going to look at the lesson though. And we can do that without knowing the timeline. We can still look at what the lesson was. Timelines are important, but they're not critical to the lessons that Jesus taught. Keep that in mind. All right. So again, in the first part of chapter 28 in Matthew, you'll see Jesus appearing to Mary going and telling them that he's gone, and then they see him, and there's a whole thing there. But it sort of takes a break. Verse 16 through 20 has a break. We're going to look pretty much at all of that, 16 through 20. Well, basically through 19. And yeah, again, I'm not quite sure where it falls in the timeline of things, and it could be after, it could be before. Matthew doesn't really indicate. Remember that when the Bible was put together, it was just written as like one whole thing, and the dudes that put it together, probably really disrespecting them by calling them dudes, but the priests or the people or whoever they were, and I know there's a name for them and I have forgotten it, I'm very sorry to them. Then they put it together. They put chapter breaks in and also verse breaks to help us read it. That worked for the time and to find things, because otherwise you'd say, somewhere in the middle of Matthew, and you'd be like, well, that's quite a huge book. It's not just, there was no chapters and no verses, so that's why they're there. So it doesn't really say when this occurred. But anyway, so 16, the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where Jesus had appointed them. And that is like one of the best parts of this. So this is 11. Remember, Judas has already died by suicide after feeling terrible about what he did. They have yet to call Paul. He'll come along in Acts. We will discover him and his experience. So there's 11 of them. And they all go into the mountain where Jesus had appointed them. As in, meet at our favourite place in the mountains. Like Jesus Christ had told them, go meet us there. Go stay there. And when they saw him, they worshipped him. But some, it just says, but some doubted. So it could be mixed up with how like Thomas had doubts, or just not quite sure yet. He was just being honest and he was still learning. So some of them might have been that. This could have been some others who were feeling that as well. It's a little unclear. And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations. Now if you look at the footnote 19a, teach, preach to, make disciples of, meaning make Christians in all nations. As in not just like teach it, but go baptize people, go minister, go gospelify them. Again, not a word, but you get what I'm saying. Baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and of the Holy Ghost. And 20, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. So you do not go alone, I go with you. But here's the lovely thing in it, is 16. They went into the mountain where Jesus had appointed them, an appointed place to meet at. Isn't that lovely? And I've just we sing that song into that hymn in church, God be with you till we meet again, till we meet at Jesus' feet. And I always think of Jesus as a place to meet, because that could be the temple, that could be the chapel, that could even be after we have died. How am I going to find you again in all those multitudes of people? Well, I'll be near Jesus, and that's where to go, because that's where I'll be, and you'll find me. And I think we'll have a better comprehension of finding people then somehow, because there's going to be a lot of people at Jesus' feet learning and growing and loving him, and indeed all the other prophets and apostles and leaders and fantastic women of the scriptures and church history, and lots of people we don't even know the names of that we'll be wanting to get to know, but they will all be around Jesus. So we will find each other there. So, does your family have a meeting place? Have you got a meeting place? Have you got an emergency plan where if something goes down, you all meet at this one place because you can't get to your house, or where it is, like a safe place? We had one before we moved here. We haven't really made a new one from here. Although I think it would probably be about the same in that if I'm home, I will stay home, or our home is our meeting place. This is like given all the cell towers are down, like massive earthquake, volcanic eruption, like horrible thing. There's a designated meeting spot so that we can find each other again. And we go there and we stay there until the other person gets there. And we've got like a time limit on it, given, like whatever, if send someone else there to say, look, they've broken both legs and they're in hospital up so-and-so, but we have that plan. So do you have that plan? What about with your circle of friends? Have you got a favorite meeting place, like a favorite cafe or a favorite like person's house that you hang out at? So after Jesus had appeared to the apostles, they go to a pre-appointed meeting place, their fave place in the mountains. It's a place of prayer. So it's a teaching place. It's a place they had gone before to pray, to be together, to just sit, learn, and get to know each other and like work together, and so that he could teach them what they had to do and things that they would need to know. So it was familiar to them, which is what your favorite hangout place should be, right? Familiar to you. So Jesus himself, though, is actually a place, like a place to meet at, a person to meet at. Instead of wondering or fearing we won't find people we love, if we live the gospel, we will meet again at Jesus. He is our landmark to head for. And it's just such a good thought to think of that, I would like to think that if somebody was looking for me anywhere, whether here on earth or back in heaven, and if they weren't even a member of the church, or they just wanted to find me and like, oh, she loved Jesus, I bet she's by Jesus. If they know that about me, I would love people to say that about me. Oh, I know where to find Lorraine. She'll be by Jesus, or she'll be near someone, or like we'll find Jesus and he'll know where she is, because that is my landmark. And if it's your landmark too, then we're probably going to encounter each other on that same pathway. And we'll encounter other people too, and they'll be going in a different direction, or crossing the path, or coming back and across the path, and back across the path, and we'll have that as well. But you'll really get to know the people you walk that pathway with, and they will know where to find you because they're going to be in the same place. They're heading in the same direction. That is the landmark to head for. So think about that. Maybe discuss that with your family this week as well. It's a good discussion point, especially for teenagers and kids and just like whole family. Even by yourself, you're thinking, is that my landmark? Is that where I'm heading? Am I wandering off the path too much, or am I really there? Is that a designated meeting spot? Is that what I have in mind as my designated meeting spot for others, where they know where to find me? Would they know that I would be there? Yeah, just something to think about. And I just really like to point that out, that they did have that kind of relationship with each other, that they knew that was where it was. They all went there together. Christ taught them. Just that little bit of Matthew, really lovely. All right, now, starting with that, we're going to head into the next one, but I will do that in a whole separate video. All right, I'll see you there.